Welcome everyone to our Wednesday call. And this Wednesday, I'm so excited. We're going to be talking about the importance of community, but we're doing it with the reason we're all here, right? She is the reason we are all here celebrating Animal Reiki and talking about it. So welcome
everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. I'm always amazed at all of the amazing topics that Leah has every Wednesday, and I've watched a few of them, and it's just like a wealth of wonderful information. And so I'm super excited to be part of it this week with you guys.
I know we're so excited too, because, and we could just talk a little bit about that. How when you started, there was no community. It was just human Reiki practitioners, right?
Yeah, it was all human Reiki practitioners, and then there was me. And then I met a friend who was interested in doing animals as well, Elizabeth Fulton, who co-wrote the first book that I did. And she was the only other person that I knew that was doing animals. Nobody else was really interested. And in fact, I got a lot of pushback from my teacher here locally who said, well, animals are not a thing. And like, because I'm doing 10 hours a week on animals. And can I put this towards my hours? And she's like, no, animals don't count. You need to do human practice. And so I did do a lot of human sessions in hospitals, hospice patients, having people to my home. I did about 7 years of extensive human training as well, because in those days, animals didn't count. But I kept pursuing it because I knew that animals did count. And also I realized as I did it more and more and more that the approach was completely different. And so I ended up kind of diverging. My path diverged from the human Reiki way and went on a whole different journey. And then here we are.
But going back to the whole community thing, it's, you were all alone. I mean, like you've just kind of touched on that, but you were literally all alone. Like you had Elizabeth, you came out with the book, but after the book came out, did you find you had more of a community?
No, I think, I had an imposter syndrome in those early days because, the human Reiki community did not accept what I did or think it was important or even care. And we're just kind of like, oh, you wrote a book about animal Reiki? Oh, I guess someone would read that. Like, I don't know who would, people actually said that to me. And so I sort of felt like a no man's land kind of, and I'm like, maybe this isn't a thing. Like, I don't know, I'm doing it for myself, but nobody else seems to care. And then I would sort of meet people who would be like, oh, you do Reiki in shelters. Well, I want to come and see what you do. And they would like come and like try to get as much info from me as possible and then leave. But I felt kind of weird. Like they didn't really, it was like being used or something. I can't explain it. Like certain people in the early days, it wasn't a good feeling or community or where people wanted to learn or saw me as a teacher or saw me as like someone who might have something to say. It was more like, the human people think what I'm doing is stupid. The animal people are trying to just take everything so they can go start a business. Like it was really oddly like not friendly and not really a good feeling. And so I kind of realized early on that I had to make my own community from people who I would teach. And so I had to start to create like, what is my class about? What do I learn in the class? And I had to think about what I want to teach people that will make them be the type of people I want. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, as soon as I realized I have to build my own community, I'm like, okay, well then how am I going to attract the right people? Because I don't particularly like people. Let's be honest. I like animals and I feel super comfortable. I mean, Leah knows this. Every time I've gone to a human class and I had to be in a hotel room with 30 people for 3 days straight, I'm exhausted. I'm like, I can't take it. Like, it's so hard for me. But I could be out in a pasture for days and I'm completely at ease, So I really thought long and hard about what, like, if I am going to build a community, which was a little bit frightening because they're all people, who are the kind of people that I feel at ease with? And that was how I started to teach my classes, was I'm like, I want to attract like that kind of person. And so it was all really about gentleness, kindness for animals, letting go of ego, being humble, seeing animals really as our teachers and listening. Just that gentle spirit, even before I called it Let Animals Lead, that gentle spirit of kindness, those were the people that I wanted. Those were the only people that I felt at ease with. And so it became, a very different type of animal Reiki, because it didn't appeal to people who want to do something, who want to have a specific protocol, who wanted to be the healer and go in and heal, fix the problem. And so it really attracted a very different group. And we can see that group now in SARA. Everybody who's in SARA, I believe we have the nicest people in the world, like in our group, literally. Yay.
Well, I think that's so true too. When you teach classes, like when we have to go travel, like let's say to Florida, and when it's a bunch of people from all over, sometimes the world too, and they don't know each other, and they come to class, and it's always very awkward at the very beginning. And Karen knows this; she's been at these classes too, and people come in really uptight and closed off. And then after the first half of the day, because we're working with animals and it's a totally different practice, a totally different energy, by the afternoon of the first day, people are so much more open and they're happier. And then by the second day, people are forming really deep friendships. And by the third day, it's like we're all crying at the end when we have to say goodbye, because there's this really unique bond. But again, going back to you saying like it's really wonderful people, that's what Animal Reiki attracts. It attracts really wonderful, kind people.
Yeah, because all of us, we are not there for ourselves. We're there to be of service. And so there's that immediate sort of feeling among everyone that is really giving and compassionate. And that's really wonderful to see that. And then I always joke that everyone gets surprised in the level 1 classes. Guess what? It's all about self-healing. Surprise, you do have to put yourself first. And everyone's like, no, I just wanted to be with the animals. Why are you making me self-heal? Why do I have to look at my own stuff? I'm like, yeah, that's where it starts. But that's not why they're there. They're there to help others. And so it's just, really a beautiful community of people that have come together for the Let Animals Lead method.
Well, I think too, it's funny because you say like you don't like people, and it's hard for you to be around people. And I think that that's really the type of person that's attracted to Animal Reiki. They're always like, oh, I love animals, I don't like people, right? And just like people who have been traumatized by other humans, right? And so they open up more to animals. But I really feel that in these classes and in these communities that we've created through the Shelter Animal Reiki Association, through Animal Reiki Source, that people find like-minded people, and then you're more open to being around other people.
It's totally weird now that I lead, SARA has how many members?
At least 400 all over.
400, and we have about 400 members in the Mighty Networks Let Animals Lead community. And so I'm actually surrounded by hundreds of people all the time, like more than I ever would be. I would just be a hermit in a cabin somewhere if it wasn't. But instead, I have all of these people that I love and that we support each other and we're there for each other and we help each other and we help the animals. And so it's actually because of this practice that I actually am around lots of people. It's through Zoom now, really, but still there's way more connection with people. So community was built despite my hermit type inclinations. That's what animals do for us. But I was thinking about the benefits of community, and I actually had like 1, 2, 3, 4. I had 7 things that I wanted to share, and I'd love for you to also comment on each of these.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, we can kind of organize our talk.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I want to talk about community in reference to SARA, which is our shelter community, and Leah and I created this in 2008. We've had this for many years. And also I've created an online network, the Mighty Networks, which is, it's kind of like Facebook, but without the ads and the haters. So it's like everybody in there has been trained at least in level 1, and everyone's super nice. And we just support each other and animals and learn and grow. And so there's those two kind of communities, which I would love for all of you to join. Any of you, even if you're not my student, if you've taken level 1 in Let Animals Lead, you're welcome to come to the free membership in Mighty Networks. So when I was thinking about the 7 things that these communities bring, I think it's really important for us to be happy human beings. One of them is support. So SARA and the Let Animals Lead community provides emotional support. So if you have an animal who is sick, you can post, you can tell us, everybody sends Reiki, everyone is supporting you. Even if your animal is passing, everyone supports you. They get it. They understand the grief. They're there for you. They're holding space for you. Also social support, like we have members in the community that love horses, and they can talk about all these horse things, and there's all these people in there that love horses, but not from the perspective of horses as objects or sports cars that you do, but like horses as beings who have this wisdom, right? So you have that social group of people who get it, right? And sometimes it's just a practical advice that this group could give you. Like I know, Leah, you have people all the time that are like, oh, what should I do? I want to join a shelter. What should I do? You can give them a practical tip. Or even people are like, my dog has this issue. What should I do? And we can recommend like a trainer that we know is good, or a type of training, positive reinforcement training that is good, right? So even like practical things that come up. Or like I know people who have old cats that like maybe they stop using the litter box. I remember I learned all this stuff from Brighthaven, like take out the litter, put in towels. That can make your old elderly cat use the litter box again. Who knew? But like just like practical little tips that we learn over the years because we spend so much time with all different kinds of animals, right? And so that kind of support of community is so important and vital, especially in those moments where otherwise we might not know where to turn, or anyone who might know. And that there's support in SARA and in Mighty Networks for really any issue about animals that you might.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I think there's so much value in that. Well, even last night when we had our SARA member call, we had people talking about the difficulties that they had getting into a shelter, right? And so we're there, and it's not only you and me, but it's Kelly and other people who are sharing how it worked for them and how to overcome some of these difficulties.
And that kind of leads me to the second part of community that I think is so important, and that's connection. Because we can feel very isolated. Depending on where you live, you might be the only animal Reiki person in your whole area. I mean, Karen's in Oklahoma, for goodness sake. And I don't know how you did it, but you created a big, thriving animal Reiki center in Tulsa. So, but that was hard in the beginning. I'm sure that was hard for you. And, it wasn't really, like I'm in Marin County, California, like everybody knows what Reiki is. So it's like a totally different thing. But if you have a community, there is a connection. So you have a sense of belonging. You understand that you're not the only one. And even if nobody in your family gets what you do, everybody in SARA is doing what you do. Everybody in our Let Animals Lead community is doing what you do. So you have this inner sense of connectedness in the community that otherwise you might feel so isolated and alone that maybe you would give up when those obstacles arise, like the obstacles where people were talking about yesterday. Maybe you'd give up if you didn't have that sense of connection. But when you realize, oh, you went through that too, and you just hung out with it, and eventually it came through, it worked, or right? It makes a big difference when you have that community sense of connection.
Absolutely. I don't know, Karen, if you want to just unmute for a second and comment on that, because you are the one that was kind of out there. I don't know if you can. Oh, there you go.
Sure, I'm happy to speak. Yes, you have to persevere. I started this way. I mean, I became a SARA member and teacher in 2013. So that was a long time ago. And I remember I first started at the animal shelter here in Tulsa, which is a huge shelter that gets 100 animals every day. And luckily, the veterinarian at that time was a holistic veterinarian, had been, and I knew the manager too, who knew of me personally. So she gave me a little chance. But I started by doing other things than just, hey, I'm an animal Reiki practitioner. I didn't do any of that. We just all started with saying, Karen meditates with animals for peace and calm. And so I would just go in. Sometimes I would do other things other than doing meditation, whatever I could do to help. And then I would just start sitting with the animals. And then they would start seeing like, oh, this animal started to calm down, or that animal started to eat and drink again, or that animal got adopted. And this is not just one time coming. I used to volunteer like twice a week at the shelter. But it wasn't, those things have changed over the years. I've had a lot of closed doors because then as I've gotten older too, it's like, what do I do? What do I do next? But my connection with the SPCA now in Tulsa has been beneficial. And that once again took a lot of continuing to come back and continuing to talk with people and making it very easy for people to understand that. And obviously Kathleen's method of not pushing or forcing anything on the animals is huge. And also not always using the word Reiki. Unfortunately, the word Reiki people do not understand, or there are some Reiki practitioners that try to use human methods on animals. And so trying to just keep it very, very simple, that I'm respecting and honoring the animals and I don't have to touch them, and then just let them watch or see. But I don't know, hopefully I'm making a little bit of sense, but I said, this has been years of working and going and doing and trying new things. And there may be a shelter that initially is not going to work for you. And then you just go to try another situation. But hopefully that makes
that's great. Yeah, thank you. And I mean, the idea too here is when you're connected in a community, you can hear the stories of people who've gone through what you have, who have persevered, who have a relationship here, then the door closes, so you have another relationship. And so you can get more of a map of possibility when you have those connections and you have that support, right? And I'm sure for you too, because we've been friends and known each other for so many years, that support helps you keep going. Like
yes.
if you are the only one and there's no one to talk to and nobody to give you, encouragement in those difficult moments, then you would more likely just give it up, right? But
Absolutely.
that community helps you feel connected, and then you just go with the ups and downs. You're part of SARA, part of our community, and there's ups and downs. There's feast and famine with the Animal Reiki, and that's just, that's life, right?
It is for sure.
Thank you for sharing your experience.
Well, I love too that she was sharing it, because during that, Mary Destry said that she tried a local shelter in Santa Rosa, which is in Northern California, and they declined her offer for free Reiki for their special needs cats. And so everything that Karen shared was so important. And that just further emphasizes the reason we have communities like this, so that we can talk about this stuff and hear from people like Karen, who have been doing this a very long time and have been through all the struggles. And so, you just have to keep trying. So hopefully that was helpful to Mary. But yeah.
Mary, I have a couple of places for you. Be Holistic, BEE Holistic, Cynthia Burke. She's taking the level 1 right now. She's a friend of Gail Pope's. She has a cat rescue in the East Bay.
Okay.
She may be a person to connect with. And also, if you're open to doing dogs, Lily's Legacy in Petaluma has a wonderful environment and the dogs are all seniors and
Seniors, I
older.
know of that organization. Do you know, is someone doing Reiki there now, or?
I don't know.
Okay.
Over the years, some of my students have gone in and been totally
Okay.
welcomed. And they're, I know the owner, Alice. So just drop my name and she'll open the doors for you. They love having Reiki for their dogs too.
Fantastic. Can I ask a question regarding that particular, the nonprofit the shelter that I had mentioned? So because the owner, and it's really a one-man show, so there's no one else to speak with, but because the owner is not open to it, should I also not do distant Reiki? Like, you know how the permission thing
Um,
is important?
That's
Just
a great question.
move on to the next thing, because
Move on,
as
okay.
I always say with Leah, there's a bottomless pit of suffering in the world. So you don't need to bang your head against the place where you aren't appreciated, nobody wants you, and it's not,
Well, the
um,
kitties, like I went for an volunteer training, and there was one cat in particular that loved it.
Mhm.
But then when I talked to the guy, he was not okay with it. So I guess I'm just asking, like, this one particular kitty, like, but I want to like respect permissions. So if the cat loved it, but the shelter
well,
guy,
remember, we don't send Reiki or give Reiki or do. So if you want to just hold that kitty in your heart for highest good, like that's more of like just living in the world with compassion, and that kitty touched your heart. And so that, it's not like a formal Reiki session. That's what I would say.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, that's such a great question because that comes up a lot. And like Kathleen said, we're not doing anything. We're not trying to manipulate energy. We're not trying to fix or heal. We're just holding space with love and compassion. So, you think about like an animal. Well, like this guy doesn't want it, right? He's controlling. He's not, we're talking about letting animals lead. The kitty's showing you, hey, I really like this. So then what do, right? We let the animals lead. And we share love and compassion. But that's such a great question, Mary, because that comes up so much, doesn't it, Kay?
Totally. And I'm really glad, Mary, that this was brought up and you talked about this, because the third point about community that I want to share was resources. And so if you know people in the community, you get opportunities. You learn about an opportunity, you learn about valuable information about something. And so this is another reason to be connected to your community, because we happen to live near each other. So I can tell you places I know that are open. And, then you don't have to, worry about that one place. That's just not I mean, for me, the best situation is an organization that understands what you do. Maybe they don't understand what you do. They allow you to do what you do. They appreciate that you come. They don't really get it, but they were like, well, the animals are calm. That's cool. And they invite you, and then you believe in their mission. You like the way they run their facility, and you feel like it's your second home when you're there. If you can find an organization like that, it will be long-term. It will be for years. And that to me is the best situation when we're doing animal Reiki, not like flitting around doing a session here and then they decide they don't like you, or trying to get permission. They don't want you, but the cats, that's also not conducive to a long-term partnership and relationship. And that's really where we make change, not only with the animals in an organization, but with the organization itself. Bringing Reiki into that organization can really create, help for the staff and compassion fatigue. Angsty politics can be calmed and soothed. Just having us there over the long term can actually change so much about that organization, not just helping the animals get adopted. So think long term, think long relationships long term.
Great points. Thank you so much. So
And I
helpful.
liked what Karen said too. Don't come out with Reiki out the gate, because Reiki, like this man might have some really negative feelings about Reiki, but meditation, and that's what we do. So, start with meditation. That's what I always say. That's what helped me. And that obviously helped Karen. So, you could start with that too. That's always really helpful.
Like Karen said, Reiki might mean to them forcing and
Yeah.
hands-on. So they don't really even get what we do. And then so we can just present it, because really it is so different than what other Reiki people do. So.
Interestingly enough, this guy, or Gail Pope, knows this guy. So I kind of, I had some assumptions going in that were 100% incorrect. So lesson learned.
Bummer. So talking more about resources, SARA has so many resources in our for our practitioners we have an online sort of bank of info. We have informational handouts. We've got packets. We have classes that you can teach, intro classes about what we do. We have, a pamphlet that you can hand out to people. We've got, so many resources in there. And then in the Mighty Networks, we have a ton of resources, like, all my podcasts are in there. We have a practitioner circle where my more, experienced practitioners guide discussions on the monthly theme. So this theme is how to put animal activism together with Animal Reiki. So we have a bunch of discussions and talks about that. We've had a month devoted to cats, a month devoted to dogs, a month devoted to farm animals. And so you can actually get information from other practitioners who are doing this work. And then if you're like, I've never done Reiki with horses, well, I can go, because I'm a part of this community, I can go, they've got 3 talks this month all about Reiki with horses. I can learn all about it. So think of your community as a place where you can get all of that, all those, you can find out about new opportunities. You can get the information you need to expand your work that you're doing with Animal Reiki. That's really a place where your community can help you. And you may not have thought of that, but it's true.
No, it's really important. And even like the community members, which is only $50 a year for SARA, they also get access to all of our calls, so they can come join. You can ask questions on the calls. You get the benefit of getting some of the handouts that we give to only our members and no one else. And we're even going to be, speaking about resources, we're really bad about monetizing SARA. Our ethos is we give back so much to the shelters, but we really never give back to SARA. So we're going to be kind of revamping this Wednesday call to try and help support SARA too. But lots of resources in both of these networks and communities, and then of course your Wednesday community too.
Yeah, I mean, you've got this once a week free resource for people, and I do the once a month Animal Reiki talk free resource for everybody. So there, when you hook into a community, there's just a lot of, if you take advantage, there's a lot of opportunity.
Right. And the Tuesday calls are really nice because you do open Q&A, right, Kay? Mm-hmm. So that's a really great time to come in and ask a question like Mary just did and get, the woman who created Animal Reiki, you get her input. So, and that's free. Just again, lots of free resources if you're open to it. If you're on the mailing list, you notify everybody once a month about those, right, Kay?
Yes.
And then we also, if you're on SARA's mailing list, we also promote the free Animal Reiki talks.
So that leads me to the next point about community, and that is collaboration. And this might be something that you guys don't necessarily think about too much, but if you make friends in the community, you could share skills, you could do teamwork, you could collectively solve problems. And this is something that we've been experimenting with in the Mighty Networks Let Animals Lead community, with having my teachers of excellence this year are collaborating in small groups and creating classes on different topics and then teaching the classes in the community. And it's really been fun for them. In fact, we had two of the members who didn't know each other at all, and they both wanted to do something about cats. And so they're both cat people. So they paired up to do their class. And it was so cute when they were teaching their class. They're like, and we're like best friends now. Like we just call each other every day and we're texting each other. And I mean, I didn't even know her. And now, so it's so cool that they collaborated and created this friendship. And they actually did a beautiful class on how to help your new cat integrate into your home using Animal Reiki and other things that they picked up over there. Is kind of like a broad, and they had all these handouts and suggestions, and it was like really amazing class. but they worked together, figured out that, used both of their knowledge to put together a lot of resources for cat people. And I learned a lot in that class. So, collaboration, and Leah and I have collaborated all of these years on everything, right?
Right.
And so I think, thinking about when you make friendships in the community, thinking about how to collaborate together with your friends, is really a fun thing that you might not have necessarily thought about. But and if you have a group of people who live in your area, you could do a Reiki share, or you could do a volunteer day together at your local zoo, or meet at the park and do Reiki with the wildlife in the park and have lunch. There's just a great way to keep on building what you're doing into your life, and having a group that you do that with.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I mean, that's how we met, right? I mean, you put out a desire and I'm like, oh, I can help you with that. And then the rest is history.
Totally, right? Yeah. And because it's hard to do something in isolation. And Leah knows that I always do best when I have somebody to bounce ideas off of, because otherwise I'm like, what about this? What about that? And, so just thinking about collaborating with people that you like, that that you meet, that have similar interests, even if you don't know them, but they're always talking about rabbit Reiki or something. You're like, oh, we need to talk. I mean, that is a really great way to make use of your community. And that brings me to the next point, which is awareness and education. We've talked a little bit about the education that SARA does and all of the materials and resources that we have for that. But I am thinking of this in the sense of a community, that we are actually amplifying the let animals lead message, and we're educating more people about this issue, and just the idea of agency, the idea of respecting an animal's, I can talk about it all day long, but I'm one person. But if there are 400 of us talking about this, now you can Google Animal Reiki and you can see a lot of stuff about letting animals lead. That was never, ever the case. That's because as a community, we came together and amplified this message together, educating more people. And now it's funny because other animal Reiki groups are using the same language that we're using, but they haven't changed their method. So they're like, and animals, you always give the animals a right to choose, but then they're like, and here are the hand positions. And you're like,
We're gonna beam that.
yeah. So we haven't quite bridged that gap yet, but we're literally, our community is literally changing the language in the whole profession. I mean, when I started out, there wasn't even permission. You just did it because the animal needed it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was. And my first book, Animal Reiki, talked about asking permission. That was the first time that was ever even mentioned in the profession. And look how far we've come now. Now everybody's talking about, and the animal should always choose, and the animal should always lead the process. I always see that everywhere too. They don't say let animals lead, but they say, and the animal should always lead the session. That's the new language. How did that happen? Not because one person said something, but because our community all spoke the same language, and thus it was amplified. And now it is literally changing the language in the profession. That's a really exciting thing, being able to change awareness in the Animal Reiki world like that is really awesome. Because even if a lot of those people don't know what we do and haven't changed the way they do it, they understand what we're speaking about makes sense, and they want to also talk like that and have that in their languaging. Isn't that cool? So that kind of awareness can only happen from a community that is all unified, just like SARA is, just like, the Let Animals Lead community is. We're all unified. And so it really strengthens. And when any one of us speak, we're speaking together, all of us in different places around the world, all using that same language, makes a huge difference in getting the word out to the world and making sure the animals are being respected. I mean, that's really the bottom line in our message.
Mm-hmm. And then actually, and now like the exciting part of all of this too, Kay, that we haven't even mentioned is that because of the language, because of the teachings, because of the respect of animals, now the Canadian Reiki Association, they're moving forward where they're only going to accept the let animals lead method of training for animals and not any other. So that's really exciting. And again, it doesn't happen like you said, it started with you, but if it just kept with you, it wouldn't have gone anywhere. But because you lit the light in so many thousands of people, now it's making such a huge difference. And that's the strength of community. We can make huge change. We never would have thought that, we would get something like the Canadian Reiki Association. And here it is.
Well, and we should talk about the CPD standards that SARA has gotten. And so that is the highest level of professionalism in your continuing education. And we have gotten certified. SARA got the certification for a level 1, 2, and 3 classes. And this is like a group that certifies Harvard and MIT. They also certify Spirit Rock Meditation Center, those of you who might know Jack Kornfield's organization here in Northern California, but they're like one of the top meditation centers in the country here in the US. And, they have, it's a whole months-long process to get anything approved because they look over all your curriculum, the way you teach, testimonials, how long you've been doing this, what is your resume, like it's just an exhaustive process. And they certified us at this highest level, not only in our method with that we teach, but also the excellence of teaching. So there's we have a dual certification through them, and no other animal Reiki group is certified at that level. And so that is something also that, creates an educational standard that you can bring forward in your work that you're doing. And it really only happens through community. You can't do this as an island. It has to be, all of us together, right? Mm-hmm. And, we've never had a complaint from any of the shelters that we've worked in, and other Reiki people constantly were hearing complaints from vets, from, places, because they are not respecting the animals. They're not respecting, the protocol that's there. They're, whatever it is, we hear a lot of complaints, don't we? But our SARA people never have any complaints. That's why we're at this high standard of education, because what we're doing, not only does it work, but it also is super ethical, and it goes seamlessly into organizations. And so I think that educational aspect is really pretty awesome that we have in our community as well, that no other community has.
Definitely. We've worked hard since we started. I mean, way back when we made that decision at the very beginning that we all have to be talking and practicing the same exact way. So you have to have studied with us in order to be a part of SARA. And it's just like being a part of Mighty Networks too. And there's a reason for that. There is strength in consistency. But if we're all talking about something like what the Reiki world has, you have angel Reiki, crystal Reiki, you have Kundalini Reiki, all these different things, there's no consistency. And they're having a really hard time finding a consistent balance in the Reiki community because of that. So something that you wanted and I wanted at the very beginning was that consistency. And now it's really paying off because, like you said, now people all over the world are talking about it in a certain way.
Mm-hmm. And that brings me to my next point, which is networking. And so because we have this consistency, high level of standard of education, that people know the ethics that we use and the languaging we use, because as a community, we're all speaking this way, this can lead to partnerships in the community with other businesses, with advocacy, animal advocacy groups, even with, magazines or online summits who want speakers, or, a radio show, or, even a holistic magazine that wants to interview you, or, there's so many opportunities, maybe a vet office that wants to partner with you. or a holistic practitioner that wants to partner with you. There's so many opportunities now because you're part of this large community with a really good reputation, with a lot of excellent standards that everybody knows. Now the networking aspect is much easier, because otherwise, if you're just by yourself, you know, you don't really have a code of ethics, you just kind of, you're winging it. And then you go and you try to create, you know, a relationship with an organization. It's very hard. And I know, because that's what I did at the beginning, because I didn't have any of this at the beginning. And it was so hard. I was very lucky that two of the organizations, the very first organizations I ever partnered with, to teach and to, you know, share and everything. One was Guide Dogs for the Blind here in San Rafael, pretty awesome. And the other, one of the first classes I ever taught was the staff of the Elephant Sanctuary. Like when I look back, I'm like, how did that even happen? Like it was just me. Nobody knows who I was or what I was doing. I only had a packet of notes. I had my human Reiki teaching, and then I had a packet of notes for the animal part, right? And yet I was able to somehow network at this stage, you know, and that was the beginning. But now with everything we've built with SARA, it's a lot easier for all of you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You have so much behind you when you go in to network. Now, of course, not everyone's going to be open to it, as Mary just told us. But the people who are open to it are going to immediately be like, wow, like I get that a lot with people who are open to it. And then you say, oh, and this is what I'm a part of, this nonprofit, and this is what we do, and this is how long we've been doing. What? That's amazing, right? So, you know, it's really going to be helpful for all of you if you haven't already started networking, but just something to really think about. Use your connection to the community and the high standing and reputation of that community to help you build those connections. And then the last point, Leah, that I wanted to talk about today, I saved this one for last. I think it's my favorite.
Okay.
Community brings empowerment.
Yes.
And this is really one of the biggest things that Leah and I want to do is we want to give you guys confidence. We want to empower you to be able to meet your goals in your life for service for animals. We want to encourage you, you know, spiritually from our hearts, so that you can keep that spark that you have for Animal Reiki and for the animals and keep going, you know, just like with Karen and talking about, you know, how all the perseverance that she had, right? And I remember encouraging you so many times, Karen, and us talking on the phone and, you know, in those early days. And that's what community is all about. We should encourage each other, right? And so whether you are in your, you know, little world and you're looking for encouragement, or maybe you have created something in your community and you can encourage others. So really thinking about how SARA and the Let Animals Lead community empowers you, but also how we empower each other through that confidence, shared goals, and encouraging each other. That's such a beautiful piece of what we do. And that's where friendships are built, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's impossible not to create really deep friendships in this practice, because one, you're all have a same goal, a same desire to help animals. And then it's just such a beautiful practice and it brings out the best in you. So you connect. So Mary Lynn said, love this presentation. Thank you, Kathleen and Leah. Got to, so she has to run. And then Alice says, do you have a list of LAL trained people in the UK? I think on your website you have, and we have on SARA's website, if you look under members.
Yeah, on SARA's website. And then also in the Mighty Networks, we have a UK and Europe group that you can join that has people in there in our Let Animals Lead community. But I don't have my directory anymore right now.
Oh,
I'm gonna like redo it, but it was so old. It was from 2004 and 80% of all the links were dead or wrong or whatever. And so I just canned the whole thing and now I'm rebuilding it. So don't have one.
I would love for Monica in Croatia to talk, because so Monica took one of my classes, and she works, Kathleen, in a shelter. She's a SARA member too. She works in a shelter with 500 animals, and they have 200 puppies right now. But anyway, she's kind of all herself, right? She works on the staff of this shelter. And so I'd love to hear from Monica about how community has helped her. If you want to unmute, Monica.
Yes, hello everyone. Sorry, I cannot put my video on. I don't know, something is wrong, but hello everyone. And Kathleen, I'm so glad I've met you finally, at least like this. And before I say anything else, thank you for everything you do for animals and for us.
Oh, thank you.
So yes, I work in a really big shelter with more than 500 dogs. I say it often, people usually cannot even imagine how it is to be in the shelter with 500 dogs barking half of the day, all day. So sometimes it is really, really, really stressful and loud and sad. And sometimes I'm really frustrated with everything I see. But thankfully, I joined Leah's class and I learned so much, and it helped me so much, because at that time I was at the point that I wanted to quit my job. But with time and with everything I do now, I realized it's not only my job anymore. It's much, much more than that. And all the things I've learned helped me so much to go through my days. Sometimes they're very hard. Like, for example, today a puppy died in my arms in the morning. But she was leaning at my heart, and she knew someone loves her and she goes to a safe place. And I was calm during that time because I knew I felt peace in my heart. And that is something, one of the things I learned during everything I go through with Leah and with all these great Wednesday calls. And I'm very grateful for that.
Wow, that's so amazing, Monica. And you're here, you know, cheerfully after that tough morning. I mean, you are one strong person. But, you know, I have to say that is one of the greatest gifts that we can give an animal, especially an animal who is rescued and who doesn't have a home or a family, but to give them love and peace in their final moments, like truly one of the greatest gifts in those final moments. And so what an angel that you are for those animals. And I'm so glad that you found your way to this practice to give you strength and grounding to be able to keep going, because the animals need you, you know, they really do.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot, and it really, really, really helped me a lot, because some days are really tough, but at the end of the day, I know I'm there for them. And like you say also, who would do it if I won't do it? So I do it with all my heart.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica. I really love that you took the time to share that. It's just, you know, and she's all the way over in Croatia. So you can imagine how she feels so alone. And so it's really great that she uses this community and that she's a part of SARA so that she feels supported. And
you're not alone. You are held. We are all holding you in the light, and you are part of our SARA family. And, you know, even if nobody else in Croatia is doing it, you know, you are part of a very big community of hundreds of people, and we all are totally behind you and supporting you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness.
I know, it's Kathleen to bring on the tears.
One of our SARA heroes. I'm so excited. I mean, we have so many, and I'm telling you, these are the best people in the world.
Yeah.
The people in our community. And, you know, it's just, it's, you know, I'm honored to meet Monica today. I mean, she is the embodiment of the Let Animals Lead method. She is in every way. She's living the precepts. You know, it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Now I'm full of tears now.
I know Kathleen does that. She always keeps on her tears. It's like you can't do a talk with her and not cry at some point.
I know. Do you remember Barbara Walters, that journalist? And she would always make people cry. My husband always tells me I have the Barbara Walters effect.
You do. You always make us all cry. It's so funny.
Sorry.
Well, we are coming to the end, but I want Kathleen to do one of her meditations for us. If anyone, I don't know if anyone else has any questions, I'll put it back on gallery. If you have any questions, you can just unmute, or we can go straight into our meditation. I'm going to take that as a yes. Go ahead, Kathleen. Lead us.
I just want us to get grounded and sit in the Reiki space. So I'm just going to do a little hara breathing for us today. Well, let's go into Gasho, palms together, and let's just take a moment to set our intention. And let's dedicate all the energy of this practice to our animals. You know, the animals that are on our mind and heart today, the animals that we work with, the animals that live with us in our homes. Also, this month in our Let Animals Lead community, we're focusing on the animals of the sea, animals that live in our oceans, and whatever other animals are just touching your mind and heart today. We invite them to share the space with us. And then resting your hands on your lap. And we'll do some hara breathing. So visualizing your breath as a pure and clear light. And as you breathe in, you can bring this light in through the nose, in through the crown, filling your body all the way down to the lower belly, the hara. And then just before you exhale, imagine this light can brighten in every cell of your being. And any stress or discomfort that you're feeling just dissolves with love into the light. And it leaves you with this amazing feeling that all is well in every cell of your being. And then as you exhale, imagine this light, this beautiful feeling of all is well can just expand like a gentle mist into your aura and into the universe. So breathing in this light, filling your body, connecting with the hara, brightening this light in every cell, all is well. And breathing out, expanding that beautiful all is well light. And just continue that breath a few times, breathing in the light, brightening it. All is well in every cell. And breathing out, expanding that light. And then relax your breath and just see yourself sitting in this light, the light of pure compassion and loving kindness, the light of the universe, perfect balance and harmony, and perfect healing. We can see this light as a beautiful invitation for our animals. And as you sit and hold this light, I'll offer to each of you arrange you a spiritual blessing to support you in your work with animals, in your work in our Let Animals Lead community. So when I call your name, you can just go into Gasho and set your intention that you're open to receive that Reiju. Karen and Lisa and Claudia and Alice and Eddie and Anne and Mary and Joan and Linda and Sue and Monica and Teresa and Leah. And then taking a moment to thank the animals who stepped in and shared space with you today. They always bring so much goodness and light. Beautiful lessons from the precepts too. Thank you, animals. And setting your intention to finish, take a nice deep breath. Slowly come back and open your eyes.
That was so beautiful, Kathleen. Thank you so much. What a treat to be able to get a Reiju today. It was so powerful. I was like, ooh.
Good. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was such a really important topic to my heart, and I was so happy to speak about it, and especially with my partner in crime here, you. And I just appreciate our community so much.
How can people, and I'm going to put another resource that we didn't share was the Facebook group, the Animal Reiki Source Healing Circle. If you're on Facebook, you can go on there and ask for healing. You can offer healing to other animals. But how do they join or how do they learn more about Mighty Networks?
Yeah, so if you have learned at least level 1 in the Let Animals Lead method with me or any of my students, you can, I'll put the link here. You can join for free. Oops, I lost you. Where are you? There you are. Put the link in the chat here. You can join this for free. We also have like an upgraded membership that's $12 a month, and you get a bunch of extra stuff, guided meditations and special free classes and all kinds of other stuff. But we also have a lot of resources just in our free membership. And so the link is there. There's just a question. It just asks you what level you're trained in, who your teacher was, and then you'll get approved. And then you can go in and check out all the good stuff in our Let Animals Lead community.
Yay. Thank you so much, Kathleen. This has been amazing, and I can't wait to watch the replay again because there was just so much. And then we'll also give in our recap email, we'll give some of the information too, and we'll have these links there as well. So thank you so much, Kay. Mwah, love you.
Love you all. Blessings.
Thank you,
Bye.
Kathleen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All. Take care.
Bye.